For the Young at Heart is sponsored by Duville Life and Wellness Community, a commitment to care, a legacy of compassion. This is Duville.
Hello and welcome to For the Young at Heart. I'm Lucille Jerome. And as you can see, we're not in the studio today. We are on location at the Matthew Boulay Memorial Park in Drake, Massachusetts. With Veterans Day coming up shortly, we thought this would be appropriate. The Boulay Park was begun because of this young man who's only 22 years old. And he was the first soldier from New England killed during the Iraq War. And this park is brand new. It's a work in progress. I have two guests today. We're fortunate, actually, to have Mrs. Gabriella, who is the Veterans Agent from Drake, Massachusetts, and Colleen Gary, who is a state representative from Drake and Kingsborough, Massachusetts. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
What a beautiful day to have this outside.
It is
Why don't we
gorgeous.
talk a little bit about the park in general? There was a committee.
There was a committee put together, including Sue Boulay, the mom of Matthew, the Gold Star mother. Her husband also worked on it, and family members and friends. An incredible outpouring of love and support from the community. The park itself is on the location of where the old sewer department and park department had their buildings, and when they were merged with the town hall, they didn't need the buildings anymore. They were demolished, and Sue had wanted this as the site for it. Matt actually on the brook behind us, Matt used a canoe right here, and she envisioned this as a location where people could come and reflect and have a picnic. There are no fun rides or anything else. This is a memorial park, but it's someplace that people can come. You'll see that this is the only table that's here right now. We have two others coming in. They are handicap accessible, and they're recycled plastic. That was important to Sue, that it be accessible to everyone. We have benches that are coming in, and of course we have the beautiful monument that was dedicated in November of 2016.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, it was incredible. The stone was picked out in North Chelmsford at a quarry. The ironwork on the stone and on the fence were donated by Gene Soucy. Just an extraordinary donation from that gentleman. In about a year and a half, the community at large and beyond raised $80,000. But it could not have been done without the town of Drake and the support that the DPW, the town manager, the selectmen, everybody just coming to help us with this park. It is town property. So we've had to go along with what the town wanted on certain things.
Of course.
But they've been tremendous at helping us. If people drive by, they might see the trees and say, "Oh, geez, they look like they're all dying." They were put in somewhat late in the season, and the arborist that we've talked to believes that they may have started hibernation early. So we'll know next year how bright and lively they are. But it's just an extraordinary outpouring from the community to honor this young man. And I was proud to be part of the effort.
Right, I'm so glad you were able to come today.
Thank you.
So it's really a new park in progress. It began sometime in November of 2016?
That was when we dedicated it.
That's the dedication.
So the town meeting voted to allow us to use this as a park, or the selectmen rather, allowed us. So,
wonderful.
Yeah. Lynette's been helpful with it as well as Veterans Agent.
Yeah. So as a Veterans Agent, Lynette, tell me some of the things that you do, and I'm imagining throughout the country there are Veterans Agents in many communities, but what do you do?
So the main portion of my position with the town here is financial assistance for low-income veterans and their families. This program, there's actually a Veterans Agent in every town and city in the state of Massachusetts. So, and we all administer the financial assistance to low-income veterans and their families. This program actually started around the Civil War era. And on top of that, we also help out with filing for VA claims for disability,
uh-huh.
for aid in attendance, which is for veterans and their spouses that,
Okay.
or widows or widowers that have a hard time taking care of themselves. They're in need of going to an assisted living because they're unable to cook for themselves, feed themselves, bathe
Sure.
themselves, that type of ordeal.
Sure.
So there are a lot of programs out there for elderly veterans and their spouses.
Right, right.
And we also administer any other VA benefits, like we will help apply for the VA home loan certifications
Okay.
and things of that nature.
Okay. That's quite a bit. That's quite a bit.
She keeps very busy.
I was just going to say, do you have an office staff to help you with this?
We are an office of one.
Okay.
I actually handle Drake-It veterans and their families. But like I said, there are assistants all throughout Massachusetts of people in the
Sure.
same position that I'm in.
Sure, sure. So financial assistance is a primary goal.
Correct.
But there must be tied in with finances is always something to do with the social networks and things of that
Definitely.
nature, and helping them to understand that these are available and it's okay to be using them, and other things like that. Because some people, this generation we're talking about is a generally very proud generation.
Mhm.
I mean, I see it in other ways through other populations in this age group. So there's a lot of support and encouragement sometimes, I would think. Am I wrong with that?
No, you're definitely right on. And actually, veterans as an entire culture, not just this generation, are very proud individuals. So it's basically throughout all generations of veterans as well.
Okay, all right. But it's there. This is where we come into. This is what they've earned. This is what they've earned.
Definitely.
Okay. And some of them, I would think, like other people think, well, it's a type of welfare, but it's really not. Is
No.
it? It's what they earned. They worked very hard. They died. This young man died. Okay. Okay. So Veterans Day always falls on November 11th. I'm curious. When did Veterans Day start? It started around the Civil War. You mentioned that in passing, right? And so over the years, it was expanded so that every community, it's now national. It's a national holiday. This is not just Massachusetts. Okay. As a child, I remember men on the corner with puppies, the puppies,
Yep.
and I remember being told about how important it was to contribute. And I would donate my pennies as a
Yep.
kid, as a child, you know.
Right.
And you might be given a puppy, if I remember correctly. So this has been going on for quite some time. And communities still do parades, some of them.
Yep.
Okay.
Some communities do parades, some of them just have ceremonies. It depends on
Sure.
which community they're in.
Sure. Okay. So might a ceremony at some point in time be done here? Maybe in the future? Or-
They've been doing them at,
They've
at Veterans Memorial Park, which
Okay.
is the other larger park in town
Okay.
that is dedicated to all veterans.
All veterans.
And so that's usually where it's done, or at the American Legion, depending on the weather. But
weather.
certainly Drake-It never forgets its veterans or any community.
Right,
I
right.
know I'm usually running around from a morning ceremony to a mid-morning ceremony and in Tingsboro, but I think
Do they at least coordinate it for
well,
you?
they do. They do. One's early in the morning. One's at 11. Always at 11 on the 11th.
Okay.
But they, there's a new patriotism in this country, and I think that there have been nonprofits that have started up. We're just talking about Hidden Battles as a young man
Okay.
who is trying to help with post-traumatic stress disorder in veterans and in first responders. A friend of ours, Dave Susi, an Iraq War veteran, is doing something to honor veterans called the Heart of the Traveling Soldier.
Oh,
And
wow.
he goes out and does honorings. He started with the Vietnam War, because that was the one that people weren't welcomed home, and he felt that every veteran should be
Right.
welcomed home.
Right.
And then he's gone on to Korean War, which is the forgotten war.
Yes.
And
That's the war of my childhood, by
yeah,
the way.
yeah, it's amazing that when you hear about that, how they feel, those veterans feel like people forgot that war even happened, and the
right.
sacrifices that they made in World War I and World War II, and the current combat. conflicts.
Conflicts, yeah.
But Dave does that as well, and he goes out. We just went to a nursing home at Fairhaven, and he presented a certificate to everyone that was a veteran at the nursing home, so they don't feel that they're ever forgotten.
Yes.
And we've done it at the library. He's done it at the VFW. So besides the American Legions and the VFW post, which needs younger people getting involved, the younger veterans, we're asking them to get involved because the older ones are getting older and sicker and not able to do as much. The NAM Knights, which is a motorcycle club, they do a tremendous amount for veterans in this community.
Okay.
So there's a lot of nonprofits and a lot of groups that are now stepping up to the plate to fill those voids that Lynette by law can't fill. Veterans assisting veterans. There's so many of them. So it's nice to know that those resources are there, and if folks don't know where they are, Lynette knows how to reach them.
Okay. So picking up the younger group as we age. I'm one of the people who are aging, and it does happen.
Yeah.
So it's encouraging the younger, the VFW,
Right.
the American. Oh, wow.
Yeah, they need more. They need more members. So if it's a senior watching this and you've got a son or a daughter who's a veteran, get them involved.
Get them involved.
We need to always keep the next generation aware of what happened in the past.
That's right. Okay. Well, we do have seniors watching this program, and
Right.
we also have families of seniors watching in this program. So sometimes we put a bug in somebody's ear, and they take action.
Right.
Okay, which is important. And you never know. You never know that someone might someday be talking about this program and tell somebody else about it also.
Right.
See, that's another piece of the pie.
Right.
We have a big pie.
Yep.
It's a puzzle piece.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so the American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, they're aging, and we need younger men.
There's actually an initiative that we're working on here in Drake right now to actually entice the OIF and OEF veterans. That's Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. In ways to get them active in the community. So actually what we're starting is we're going to start issuing on Monday ID cards for Drake resident veterans. And with that, we're asking that different organizations and businesses here in Drake are going to be offering some type of discount to these veterans.
Yes.
And on top of that, once I get the veterans in my office, because there are a lot of veterans here in the community that I don't know, because if they don't come and see me, I don't know who they are. So this is a way to get them in my office so that I can meet them and know who they are, to see if for different events and things like that, if we're able to send them flyers for when events happen. Another way we're doing it is we're offering veterans if they'd like to volunteer in the community. So if another veteran is disabled and elderly and isn't able to mow his yard, then maybe we have a younger veteran that's suffering with PTSD and wants to get out of the house and get more involved in the community. So he can, and he has the time available to mow this gentleman's yard, that type of ordeal. So that is something that we're actually working on right now. Correct.
Partnering. Very good, very good. Well, I know some of the senior centers have veterans programs or veteran lunches or breakfasts, things of that nature. And speaking at those places would be helpful too. I'm imagining that already goes on. I mean, it's like, I'm the newbie here. You are the experts
The
here.
first Tuesday of the month is the Drake one, I think. is
Yep.
it? And her office is right there in the Council on Aging building. So
Yes.
yeah, it's a good resource for those.
Right.
And maybe she can get those veterans to actually come in and do stuff at the Council on Aging.
Yes.
I know my folks were younger when I started as a state rep, and they thought, well, we're not old enough for this.
Right.
They're gone now, but if they were here today, I'd be getting them more involved over there because they do have a lot of fun.
Yes, they
at
do.
the Council on Aging.
Yes, they do.
And they don't have to sit at home and
That's
be by
right.
themselves.
Right.
They really can get out, meet new people, and enjoy some of the fun that's going on.
Well, we find that as we age, isolation, social isolation is really not good for anybody. And if you've already got some issues with maybe PTSD or things of that nature, it just adds to that piece.
Right.
So it is important to get out of the house.
Right.
You know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty jealous of all the fun stuff that they do at the Council on Aging. I'm like, why can't I go? I want to go for one for ice cream.
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
And they all close in the afternoon, so they're not open at night. So people who are older who are working can't make use of it in many communities. There are all communities. But some
Drake has
communities.
started to go on every other Monday night. I think they're open until 6.
Okay. Okay.
So folks can go
Okay.
down, and
Yeah.
if they are working, they go a little bit
Yeah.
after work on a Monday,
Yeah.
every other week.
Yeah, there are also some churches and synagogues that have programs for the veterans.
Yep.
And you mentioned one of the nursing homes.
Right.
Some nursing homes for Veterans Day will ask families to bring in photographs of their veteran with their uniform
Mhm.
on and where they were served
Right.
and what their rank was and what the division was, so that they get honored that way too.
You know, it's funny. My uncles, my dad was in the seminary, so he didn't get to be in the service, but my uncles were,
Uh-huh.
and there was something they were so proud of. And
Mhm.
and even when I went down, when my uncle passed in Florida, and I was in charge of his estate, I said, I betcha he still has that uniform in his closet, and we're gonna wake him in that uniform because he loved it so much. And sure enough, he was in an
There it was.
assisted living program, and he had downsized and downsized and downsized, but
he
that
kept that
uniform was
uniform.
in that closet. And so, you know, we thank all of those veterans, and you know, we would like to be able to thank you personally. So please get
Right,
involved with
right,
Lynette and
right.
any of your
Right.
service, your veteran agents.
Are there any oral project, oral history projects? I know that there was one that Senator Songas did something many years ago, an oral project for seniors. I wonder if there's some specialized project for veterans to tell their stories. They're usually reticent to tell their stories,
Right.
But
Right.
still,
I know Dave Susi, who, again, our Heart of the Traveling Soldier, is going to be starting a show, a cable show as well, to recognize veterans.
right?
He's also collecting, and it's amazing the stuff that has been donated to him:
Mhm,
uniforms, the military food packets, and
MREs.
Yeah, MREs. That's it.
Oh.
And just different things from different wars that
Right.
the service that people can look at.
Yeah.
And one of the things that always amazed me, one of my campaign workers from day one, 22 years ago, I always knew him. He was always laughing, always joking. He came into the event that we had that Dave did for the Vietnam War.
Mhm.
He started to cry.
Oh.
He had actually been shot, and I never knew that he had been shot in the war. And he was looking at the pictures of the Vietnam War, and he looked at me, and he started to cry, and he was telling me the story of how he got shot and how he was helicoptered out. And he was talking about his brothers that didn't make it, that were helicoptered out with them. And it was really amazing that there was this heroic man that I've known all these years, and I didn't know that story.
Right.
But you could see just in his eyes, it was nice that someone remembered him, and that he could help remember his brothers.
Right.
So
It was there still in his heart, too,
right.
Colleen.
Yeah.
It was still in his heart.
Yeah, and another gentleman that came in
Right.
and he watched, and his wife had sent the picture. Dave does accept pictures to put on this rolling picture of veterans. And he said, my wife sent a picture in, and he looked at, and we're looking and looking, and all of a sudden it was up, and he started to cry.
Mhm.
So, you know, for those seniors who are out there,
Right.
get involved with us, get
Right.
involved with these organizations,
Right.
so that we can thank you.
Right. It is time. It's long overdue for some to feel that
Right.
that they've been gratefully thanked for the service they've done. I mean, we're here because of that.
And it's not forgotten, even
It's
though
not
it was so
forgotten.
many years
Right.
ago.
Right.
Even if you had a parade coming home,
Mm-hmm.
we still haven't forgotten that we owe you everything.
Right.
We owe you.
Exactly.
There's
Right.
all this debate about the flag and the anthem and all that, but we wouldn't even have this
Exactly.
if it wasn't for the veterans
Yeah.
who fought before us all those years ago, and those who currently
Right,
serve for us.
right.
So,
Well, my father had a scrapbook. My stepfather had a scrapbook, and it was built with pictures of him as a young man on the ship. He was stationed in World War II in the Pacific, and there's all these young, muscular guys doing things on the ships, and then on their nights off and things of that nature. But he never talked about it, really. He never really talked about it. It's but there's that scrapbook.
Right.
Now, maybe in that community, I will look into this. Maybe in that community, there is a veterans project, and they're collecting mementos or things of that nature from veterans. Okay, that might be something to think about. I
And
have to
even
write that down.
one of the things that Dave wants to do is, even if he's doing he calls them honorings, if he does an honoring, that if people don't want to give the information away, but they want to bring it to that
right.
and honor their loved one and show their memorabilia
Uh-huh.
and take it home with them afterwards, that's fine too.
Uh-huh.
You can sit with it
Right,
all day
right.
while it's being
Right,
done.
right.
But it's your way of sharing
Uh-huh.
your love for that veteran, and he's willing to do that as well. So,
So here we are, sitting in a park dedicated to a young man, and the family and the committee in this town said, we want to honor him and other veterans.
Right. He was in a helicopter, and in April of 2003,
Three.
2003.
and the helicopter was shot down. And I remember when that happened, and talking with Sue and Leo, the parents, and the internet wasn't as big as it was then, and the
course.
stories, they could only talk to the family members. There were 6 men that were killed that day. They were on a special mission, a volunteer mission. To this day, we don't know exactly what that mission was.
Sure. Sure.
But he volunteered for that mission, and he gave his life for his country.
So, Colleen, you deal with this every day. Every
Lynette.
day at work. Lynette, I'm sorry, Lynette. Well, you deal with it in a different way,
Yeah.
but Lynette,
Yes.
you deal with it every day as part of your actual job.
Yes, I do.
And she's a veteran.
And you're a veteran. Oh, see,
Yes.
now I didn't know that when I introduced you.
Yep.
Why didn't you tell me that initially? So tell me about your experience.
So I'm an Army veteran,
Mm-hmm.
and this is my way of kind of giving back to my to fellow veterans.
Okay.
And like Colleen was talking about, how some people sacrifice a lot. Yes, all veterans have sacrificed something,
Sure.
but some have sacrificed everything
Sure.
and lost their lives to their service. So I really enjoy the position that I have now because it allows me to give back to the veterans that I served with, and
Right.
future veterans and past veterans as well.
Right. So you see the gamut from the young to the old.
Sure do.
Right. Have you thought of putting something in writing someday about the experiences, like maybe a small book or pamphlet that veterans might see and say, oh, she's talking about, well, you wouldn't be talking about anyone in particular, but there are themes. There are definite themes. And if someone recognizes him or herself in that theme, they might say something like, ah, maybe there is something I can do to help someone else. You
That's
know,
a
you never
fantastic
know.
idea.
You never know. Okay, I only say that because I'm taking a writing course at Arise program, and everything is ripe for writing. Everything, anything under the sun is ripe.
Right.
Okay, and we're told that every single class.
Right.
So,
And you write what you know about.
and
That's
you
right.
do, and you're right,
Yep.
but you know about, you know.
Right.
Okay, now, as we're beginning to slow down a little bit, what do you think we might have been forgetting? Anything we might have forgotten so far? We've talked about this young man and the park when it began. It's a work in progress.
Right.
It really is.
Right.
You mentioned trees earlier and more benches, but I can see over time.
We
things
actually
happening.
already have people coming to fish. And
Really?
we've had people, when I was here one day, we've been trying to keep up with the watering and everything, and there was somebody sitting at this bench having an ice cream, and we looked over
Okay.
like, this is what we wanted it to be. We
Yeah.
wanted someplace that people could
To
come and
come
just relax. And
Relax.
and this area of town don't have access to a park.
Okay.
But the brook is here. I
Mhm.
can't wait to the fall, to the colors.
Oh,
and,
right.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
going to be very peaceful and very very calm. We do recommend you watch out for the geese, though. That's
Oh, the geese.
the only downside to the location is the geese have found it.
They have found the key to that, I'm told, is do not feed them.
Right.
That's the
Right.
key. I don't know. Some of the nursing homes have geese families.
Yeah.
You know, they have geese families that come in. Seem like they come in every year. They can tell someone's going to feed.
That's
here.
right.
That's the key. No feeding allowed.
So,
Oh dear.
but there are so many programs out there, and
Yeah.
Lynette knows about so many
Yeah,
of them, and
Lynette.
it's good to see that these organizations are popping up even more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, we need a little bit more publicity. Would that be in the local newspapers, the town newsletters? How do you get the word out? Because some men and women haven't signed up
Right.
for any of these programs. So that's another piece of the puzzle, isn't it? Reaching out.
One large way that we are able to reach out is social media. However, we have a hard time reaching some of the elderly generations because they don't utilize social media as much.
Right.
The younger generations, it's a lot easier to get them in the loop with social media, but it's more difficult for the older
Right.
generations.
So for the older generations who might either be homebound or in an assisted living or or a nursing home, it's reaching out might be through, if those places have newsletters.
Right.
Yep.
And or visiting
Right.
during some of the recreational programs. Because, so you really have to judge yourself differently in terms of the population you're dealing
Definitely.
with. Right.
Mhm.
So you're an actress. You got to take on a different role.
That's right.
In a way. Well, isn't that the truth?
Yep.
And the younger people that are coming back, they're difficult to reach out to because they're so busy now coming home and making up for their lost time with their family members
Right.
and a job and all of those
Right.
those stresses in their
Right.
lives as well. So it's
Right.
difficult.
So that's difficult too. So
Right.
every age group has its own set of issues to deal with. But there's going to be some, maybe we reach them through church or a synagogue. Maybe we reach them through something like this.
Absolutely.
Something
Absolutely.
like this, okay? We are seen in many communities, you know.
Right.
If anybody watches, we are seen in many communities.
You a couple of times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting a signal that we have about 2 minutes to go. And I usually don't announce that. But you see, we're outside right now. So this is a whole different ballgame for me, too. So in about 2 minutes, we know that the trees are going to be watered
Yeah, and
or
this is-
transplanted
yeah.
if necessary.
And this is Lakeview Avenue in Drake.
Right.
It's right
It's a
next
main
to,
thoroughfare.
Yeah, right next to where the Enterprise Bank is and
Mhm.
across from the ice cream stand.
Mhm.
It's a nice place,
It's
places
nice.
to swing
Very
in
nice.
and enjoy a few moments of peace and quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. A time to reflect.
Yep.
And be grateful.
Just this past week, Matt had gone to the Middlesex Charter School in Lowell and graduated from there, and they brought the students out because the family has a scholarship for a graduate from there.
Okay.
And they brought the kids out to actually see the monument and
Oh.
to read more about on
Yeah.
the plaque
Yeah.
who Matt was, and,
Yeah.
and Sue and Leo were here
Yeah.
and able to talk about him and his service and his love for the community. So
That's beautiful.
yeah,
Such a young man.
Yeah.
And such a dedicated family and community to think, let's do something more.
Right.
Let's do more for our veterans. We're going to be, I'm so glad you're both able to come
Thank you.
today.
Thank
both
you.
of you, Colleen
Oh,
and Lynette. First name basis. But I'm really so glad we're able to do this with Veterans Day coming up shortly. And it's always on November, it's 11/11/11, isn't
Right.
it?
Yep.
November 11th. Right. Okay. And thank you so much.
Thank
you so much. We're so fortunate to have you doing this work.
Right.
And in every community, there is someone similar to you dedicated to our veterans.
Right.
That, I think, is crucial.
Definitely.
Never forget.
Right.
Another thing to never forget.
Right.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming. Take care. Bye-bye.
For the Young at Heart is sponsored by Duville Life and Wellness Community, a commitment to care, a legacy of compassion. This is Duville.